Welcome everyone. Today we have another new episodes, and for from World Talent Economy Forum we have our very good friend from Africa, even from USA, and he actually live in China. We have our friend Mr. Nicholas Ugochukwu. We have our famous philosopher, Mr. Oshnakachi. We have Brenda. She always support us, and Ugochukwu Alo. That is my like learning. Still, I'm learning about the meaning and names of some from Nigeria. So hopefully, I will learn fast. So I want to start with my friend Mr. Ugochukwu because he has a book, and he want to introduce his book with our audience. Even anyone has book. Even I know that Mr. Alo, he has book. Oshnakati, he has book. Even Brenda and Nicholas, if you have your own book and you want to share with our audience today, you can, no problem. So I want to start with my friend Mr. Uguchuku. Yeah.
Okay, okay, awesome. Thank you so much, Sharif, for having me on this platform. It's very heartwarming and very interesting to be with you guys today, and also with the co-panelists that are wonderful people that have been very supportive. And so, thank you so much for having me. So, recently, I just published the book, An Exercise in Clear Thinking: 11 Rules for Interpreting the World. So what is the book all about, and why should someone out there care about the book Exercise in Clear Thinking? We understand that for you to survive in the world, our world today is characterized with a lot of upheavals, a lot of things that are happening. We have the coronavirus, we have the economic recessions happening in some countries, like in mine. We also have a lot of upheavals caused by technological advances. And so these technological advances are changing the way we perceive reality. They are changing our concept of time. They are changing our concept of change. And so it becomes a little bit difficult for us to really make sense of what is happening in the world. 50 years ago or 100 years ago, it was much easier for for Homo sapiens, that's a human species, to really make sense of what is happening in the world because information was largely very much at a low bandwidth, at a low size. And so people can really get a certain amount of information coming to them. And so their brains evolved to make sense of that certain amount of information. And so it wasn't really difficult for us to make sense of what is happening. But 100 years later, down the line, 2020, from around the 2000s up until now, we've seen a lot of advances in information technology, and that has unleashed a bandwidth, a gamut of data into the world, so that the massive amounts of information in the world today, it becomes so difficult for your brain to track, for really track what is happening and make sense of what is happening in the world. And now, for you to really survive in the world, whether you are a human being or an ant, whether you are a cockroach or a bird, for you to really survive in the world, you need only one thing, and that is intelligence. As a matter of fact, I think it is sufficient intelligence. And so, what do I mean by intelligence? Intelligence is is the abilities that you have, the summation of all the abilities that you have. So, for a bird, is the wings that it uses to fly. For a lion, it's the teeth and its ability to roar. For the elephant, is the elephant's talks and his big size, his big body. So these abilities are what enable an organism or a species to really thrive to really survive in the world. Now, if you are surviving in the world by basing on nature, if you're focusing on if nature is taking care of you, then you are surviving. But if you're taking care of nature, you are thriving. Survival is your ability to make it through, irrespective of the harsh situations that are in the environment. Thriving is your ability to go beyond survival, but to add meaning to nature and become even more. And so, if you use your basic abilities to navigate the world and survive, then you're using your intelligence to really survive. But for you, but because of the gamut of information that is that's available in the world, the technological changes that are happening, a lot of upheavals that are happening in different sectors, it has now become a little bit difficult for the human being to really survive, and not only survive, but get to the extent that he can thrive. Because as a human being, you have your mind. Your mind is your defense mechanism, as well as your surviving capability. That is the only thing that you have above all that creature, above other things that are in the world, to really make sense of what is happening in the world. So, in order to make sense of the world, we need to develop our intelligence in order to interpret the data, the gamut of information that is flowing. And so we are struggling and really trying to make sense of what is happening. So, how do we come to the point that we can really deploy our intelligence to really interpret the world? Not only we interpret it accurately, but to interpret it fast enough. Because with the realities we have in the world today, if you are able to interpret the world accurately, but you don't do it fast enough, it's the causes, the disadvantages of that will be really enormous. A good example: if you are an entrepreneur and you produce, let's say, a tech gadget, but you do not really understand the ramifications of that technology at how as with how it concerns with human beings and how it affects our life, the full ramifications. You don't understand what I call the physics of the need that is within the figures of the value that you are pulling into the market. If anything goes wrong, before you could call it back, because of the exponential rate of our technological gadgets, of our technological drive, because of its exponential rates, the damages could be so catastrophic and so bad that it could be unreversible. And so, more than ever, we need the ability to really interpret our world accurately and then do it fast enough. Now, I believe and I think that for you to accurately deploy your intelligence, for you to properly deploy your intelligence in the world and make sense of the world in the way that you're supposed to do it, with all these things that are happening, you need clear thinking. So, clear thinking is your ability to interpret the world, do it fast enough, and do it accurately and in a simple way. Simplicity is key to clear thinking, and
Mhm.
accuracy is key to clear thinking. So, how do you make sense of the world in all of these things that are happening? How do you deploy your intelligence in a way that is really effective so that you can not only survive, but you can also thrive? So, this is where the question of clear thinking comes in. So, I, in the book, distilled up to 11 rules that you can use, what I call exercises. They are exercises, but more importantly, they are mental frameworks in form of principles that you can use to put yourself in the frame of mind that will enable you to interpret the world accurately. Now, the basic biology, the basic nature and structure of your brain and your biology predisposes you to make faulty interpretations in the world, for you to make mistakes in the world, for you to be characterized with a lot of biases out there. But these frameworks, these principles that I've laid out in the book, gives you an architecture, a mental, a cognitive architecture, a cognitive framework to guide you and save you from your own self. So this is in short, in a nutshell, what the book An Exercise in Clear Thinking is talking about. And hopefully, with further questions, I'll have the opportunity to clarify more. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Hopefully, our audience will buy your clear thinking books, and you can share your book with our audience. And this is really interesting that how you explain that with the clear thinking concept, we can solve actually many problem and in present society. I want to ask Madam Brenda, because you are women and we are trying to discuss today about the reduce inequality. And previously you attend in World Talent Economy forums with these gender issues and many more things. But not only gender, in many part of the society we have different kind of inequality. My question is that uh, what's the experience you want to share with us, and how we can solve different kind of inequality in our society?
Thank you, Sharif, and also thank you for the opportunity to be here again and be with your audience and with this amazing panelist. Inequality is really a problem that we are facing globally, and our experiences in Africa are not different from what people are experiencing out there. In South Africa, for example, if you're talking about inequality in terms of equality, in terms of economy, it is quite rife. In terms of race, it is bad. In terms of anything that you can think about, gender and all of those things. If I think about wealth, for example, it is said that 1% of the population in the world owns about 40% of the wealth. In South Africa, we are seeing that about 3,500 people out of a population of 58 million people own about 15% of the wealth in South Africa. When you go down and see how that affects other sectors of the economy, it becomes worse because you go to education, you have that separation between private and public education. And when you look at the type of education that is delivered or services that are delivered by the education sector in the public sector versus what you get in the private sector, it is quite it is quite concerning because you see the differences, you see that inequality. When you go into the social settings, people that stay in the rural area versus people that are in the cities, the kind of services that they get versus the guys that are well off, the inequalities are there to see. Gender inequality in the workplace, where you have men being paid more than women get paid. It is painful. And the effects of this in society is that the society doesn't progress. Governments that have got unequal societies do not thrive, as Ugo has said. It pulls us back as far as progress is concerned, because in an unjust society, nothing will thrive. So I think it's about time that we call this what it is. It is injustice. That's just basically what it is. It is unfairness. It is lack of humanity. That's what it is. The impacts of that, and it is poverty. The impacts of that is corruption. The impacts of that in society is people that are dying because the healthcare center, the healthcare services are not taken care of where they should be, where most of the population is. The impacts of that is gender-based violence in families. So you don't find this only in corporate. It's something that happens in households, and then it manifests in the communities. It then grows into our corporate environments. You get it entrenched in the government systems and processes. And it's something that if we do not do anything about, if we do not call it out, if we do not stand up against it, it will continue growing. And we need to find solutions, and we need to find ways of decreasing the impacts of inequality or dealing with this unjust society so that our future is better than what we are experiencing today.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, ma'am. We have our friend Ostakasi. Are you available now? Okay. Uguchuko Alo. Okay.
I'm available. Sorry, I'm here.
Okay. Thank you. Yes, with TEF, you are actually doing a lot of work in Africa. So, how you try to reduce what Madam Brenda said? In your society, there are many inequality happening. So, right now, how you are working, and how you try to solve your problem inside your society?
Well, thank you, Sherry, for inviting me, and I'm always privileged to be here. And when you talk about TAFs in Africa, I think Brenda is in a better position to talk about TAFs in Africa. And Brenda is here. Um, the secretary, Ugochukwalo, is here, and the senior officer also, Ugochukwu is also here. So they're in a better position to talk about the. I'm just an advisor there. They're in a better position to talk about their progress, their policies, and implementation. So, but talking about inequality, uh, equity, all those things, you look at um, the stage we are as a species. You know, um, sometimes ago we normally say that an illiterate is someone who cannot read or write. But now we can say uh, an illiterate is someone who is not availed or who don't have access to the internet. Because if you have access to the internet, you will have chance to empower yourself. You are open to opportunities and stuff like that. And that's why where education comes to play. So we are talking about education in the 21st century, and all we need to do is to prepare people and avail them the opportunity uh, to have access to uh, education. So, and one of the panelists here is also designing a program or future learning. So, you're looking at how learning, because if you need to learn for you to understand how to interact with reality. So you need to understand reality before you interpret it. So, and your definition of reality determines how far you go in life. So people need the right information. So that's why um, in futurism they would say that uh, in abundance of information there is always scarcity, right? So um, the point is to streamline the direct, help people to source or feed information, help people to direct them, and that is one of the programs too. The president or the coordinator of South Africa is trying to systematize. So a good, accessible educational model that is available both for the rich and the poor. And my friend Ugochukwu we call it democratization of education. So, which is like making education. What's up? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, it's echoing. So that is making education available to all and sundry. So the model and the system for which they'll do this is what I don't really understand. But if it is possible, yes, I know it is possible. So they will share with us their plans and how they will like to do that. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. We have our new friends, Diana. So, hello, how are you? So today we are discussing about gender inequality and different kind of inequality of the society. So Madam Brenda already come up with some idea from Africa and how actually gender inequality happening. Uh, so my question is that can you share your points about the gender inequality? You can add from US context in our discussion.
I think we have better gender equality than a lot of other countries, but I think example, that like wage gap that we have, and but I mean, obviously in America we have more women working and higher jobs than the rest of the countries that have worse gender inequality. But I think there's still some space to grow there.
Mhm. Okay, thank you. Mr. Nicholas, what do you want to add specifically for?
What context do you want me to speak in, though?
I think first context you need to solve your internet issue.
Say again. I'm not a woman. What inequality?
Okay, actually, your internet has some problem. There is an echo from your side. But anyway, my question is that how we can solve inequality in our society. But definitely, you have to reach your internet connection, please.
Well, the biggest thing is the lack of education on inequality. I would say that a big problem, like Western thinking, is that they kind of feel like they resolved a lot of the inequality issues, like civil rights and feminist movements. And now there's kind of like a stigma against what they say social justice warriors. And it's kind of a derogatory term of people that get very loud on the internet when they're outraged by some type of event or some type of thing. And they're belittled by communities of skeptics by being called social justice warriors, but these are legitimate problems. There are real inequalities still happening. I am from America, and sure, inequality is much lower in a lot of ways, but that might be gender, but also the racial inequalities are still very prevalent, still very real. And just because they don't happen in Western nations as often, it doesn't mean that they don't exist. I've been in Southeast Asia for 4 or 5 years, and Southeast Asia has the highest domestic violence rates, even higher than the Middle East or Africa, in fact. So by not acknowledging it, we lack the truth. So there's a lack of education, which adds to the problem of inequality.
Thank you. Okay, can you hear me? Uguchuku Alo. I want to take one question from our audience. And yes, this question is that what is the gender mainstreaming and why it is important to take gender concern into account in program design and implementation in developing nations. So if you focus on that particular questions. Uguchuku
Okay.
Alo.
Yeah, I'm here. I hope you can hear me clearly.
Yes.
First of all, you have to understand that inequality is a measure of disparities across different spectrums. Like we know, we can talk about gender inequality, racial inequality, and all forms of inequality. And it still differs on the international level. But if you should narrow it down to the gender inequality spectrum, we will understand that inequality, when we talk about gender inequality, is the disparity, in the distribution of certain socioeconomic standards among the two genders, male and female, maybe in terms of income, in terms of health, in terms of any material or even non-material asset. So, and when we look at the way wealth distribution goes across the world, we understand that just the 22 richest men in the world, presently, has more wealth than all the women in Africa. But if you check the unpaid work of these women, it's around $10.8 trillion a year, almost half of the GDP of the United States. So, and the question now points us: how do we fix this? How do we make sure that we correct this particular? First of all, to look at the index, human capital index. If we look at human capital index, we see that it's a conglomeration of the factors that makes up the factors that makes up a human being that points out of who we are as people. And if you look at the human capital, it talk about the productive work, the economic things that someone can do to ensure that he is useful to the society. But there are some of the systemic limitations that the female gender faces in the society make effective and productive in the society. If you look at the history of the world, we see that it took a long while for women to start voting, to make their voice count. And if you look at across parliaments in the world, you see that women are at the disadvantaged side. They are less and less and less and less. In fact, if you look at my own country, we have less than 8 women in the Senate. So it's something that is very, very awful per se. So, and across nations in international order, if you go to the global stages, you see that there are equally few women that appear on those stages. And our world is more representatives when women feature more in those platforms. Among the Fortune 500 companies, women are equally few when it comes to economic decisions. So part of the reason that why women are lagging behind is that if you calculate some of their unpaid work, what they do, what limits them from actually showing up, from actually matching with their male counterparts. If I should use my country as an example, when a particular girl finishes education, the person is expected to a certain expectation how the person should get married and all that. But that such pressure is not on the male counterpart. The pressure as a male counterpart is more about making it economically. So the men go out there to make an impact, to contribute productively to the economy, while the women are being required to tend to their homes. So with this discrepancy, it tends to limit the capacity of women to actually show up in the world stage. But the question is, how do we fix this? How do we fix this phenomenon of gender inequality? We already have various women platforms clamoring for gender equality, equal pay, for equal work, and all that. But at the same time, we should understand that technology and education are great enablers in the 21st century. We can actually deliver to these women aid in such a way that they are being empowered, not just being given ordinary aid, empowered to make and recreate their own reality. And because breaking people free from the tyranny of poverty or from the tyranny of inequality will require a revolution in the design of even all the whole international framework, going from IMF, WTO, UNESCO, UNHCR, and even among the Fortune 500 companies and multinational banks. It's time to allow our women to lead in those particular areas. I know that there is the tendency of even some women opposing their fellow women too. But the society is generally better when the woman does better. Because there is no way we are going to alienate the second half of humanity and expect to progress. Thus, it is understandable that there are maybe limitations that limit women from getting the required economic power of men. But at the same time, when we enable them, empower them, it is easier for them to match and close up this gap of inequality. Amen. So because after discussing the concept of inequality, you have to look deeply at another concept of inequity. Because the two of them are quite different. But I will yield the floor so that my colleagues will contribute on this issue. Why I come back to it later.
Thank you. Ugochukwu, yes, yes. What do you want to add, even Brenda and Madam Ugochukwu? So what do you want to add in this gender discriminations? Yes. Gender discrimination.
All right, all right. Interesting. I think the question of inequality in the world is not something we. It's not something we just. Is that not a debate we just go into and then try to rehash each other's ideas? I think the opinion, with all due respect, that Mr. Ugochukwu has offered, especially from the point of view when he made the instance of the richest people in the world, and how they are controlling more wealth than all the women in Africa. And then from the point of view of also, he talked about rejigging the whole international framework, international institutions, in order to give women fair advantage so that they can really measure up to the game. I think these are just a rehashing of most of the ideas that the media, especially from the West, has been pouring on us, especially um, from parts of the world whereby we do not really think deeply into some of these issues as to how they work. The question of inequality is a question that boils down to the very fabric of humanity. And it focuses on two things. It is a question, one, of our biology, that is deep down into our biology. We have to really understand how our biology works in order to solve the problem of inequality. That's one. It is also a cultural problem. So we need to go down into the deep fabric of our cultures to really understand how our cultures work, the mechanisms that encourage this question of inequality within our culture. So I'm going to treat it from these two perspectives, our biology and our culture. The human biology is such that the male counterpart has more testosterone than the female. And the researches we have from our biology, from basic biology, shows that when you have that, you are more. It gives your body some kind of muscular advantage over that of the female. I'm
No,
getting a
you
hold.
continue, please. Okay, Oshnakati, yes.
Okay, okay. So it gives some kind of advantage over that. There are also other areas that the biology of the male has conditioned. Our biology has conditioned our culture. And this is spread across in different cultures. I'm not just talking about it an African culture, it's spread across in different cultures in Africa, in Asia, in Europe, in all of these cultures. Our biology, to a very large extent, has conditioned our culture, so that because of the way the male is disposed, the male Homo sapiens is disposed, which gives him ability to work more hours, come in, do more work, and sustain the pressure that comes from the competitiveness of the human society, of the human space. It gives it an extra advantage to do that. Now, it has this biology has conditioned our culture in a way that women have over the years, and this is about thousands of years, have been relegated to the background or have been subjugated. But there is a new catch here. The new catch is our society is transforming, it's changing. Science has come in, philosophy and secularism has come in, and then we are now getting to understand that we are not we are not beholden to our biology. We are not constrained to our biology, in the sense that our biology predisposes the male to have a dominant feature in the society doesn't necessarily mean that you have to maintain that status quo. We are now pivoting. Homo sapiens as a species is now pivoting from an animal that deals mainly with brute force to an animal that makes use of more of the cognitive power. And so, since the evolution of our prefrontal cortex and our developmental of the development of our technologies like AI, it has now enabled us to work faster. And now we now see that the society now rewards more those who exercise their mind better, those who exercise a sheer amount of cognitive efforts in doing work. And so, in this case, the women are now coming on board. You have not seen that there is no disparity between the male and the female when it comes to the brain power. The two of them can perform effectively on the same field at the same time. But the question now is, the real problem now comes in is when biology has conditioned a culture for thousands of years, is this something you can flip within a single day or overnight? The answer is no. Because if you check even your own self, When you want to conquer a bad habit, you cannot the amount of effort you put in to really do that. So talk more of a collectively, a whole species. How do you go about that? So if you go in and then you go to the international level and you say all the positions should be leveled so that 50-50 male and female, irrespective of your capacity, irrespective of your ability to solve problems, irrespective of your understanding, irrespective of, most importantly, your intelligence, your ability to handle issues, that you will now see that we will now give room for a lot of people to come in incompetent to handle institutions, and most of our institutions will collapse. So I think more of the work that we need to do is in education. More of the work we need to do is in encouraging women from the aspect of educating them, especially from the developing countries where this where the problem of education is really an issue. We need to go down there and start educating these women and empowering them, because I believe the best kind of empowerment is mental empowerment, intellectual, educational empowerment, knowledge based. So when you start educating the women and then showing them that they can really take their future by their hands, that they don't belong to the other room, that they don't belong to the kitchen, that they belong also, that if they can exercise their mind, their intelligence, that they can make a reasonable put in a reasonable amount of effort in the society, then we can see real changes that we have witnessed in countries like the United States, in countries like the UK, even countries like Australia, where women are performing favorably. These countries have invested more in educating women than in trying to force people into positions just to level up the equation. So I think this is a little bit of my idea there. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
I have a
Thank you.
question for you, bro.
Okay.
Just
So I
a
have a
quick one.
question for you, bro.
Okay.
Okay. I
I have a question
I
for
quite
him before you.
Oh,
understand the point that my colleague
Oshnagati, what's your
is
question?
coming from. But
Okay. Can we give chance to Mr. Oshnagati? Yes. What's your question, please?
okay.
Yeah, I want to ask him a question, a quick one, please. You're talking about the biological composition as a constraint, or what is causing. Are you referring to the biological composition of the male and the female counterpart as the restriction or the cause of inequality, or are you saying that we should look at just the cultural aspect of it?
Okay. Yeah. So the point I'm making here is that I'm making is that our biology has conditioned our culture over the years for thousands and millions of years. It's conditioned our cultures in the sense that at the early stages of human evolution, when human beings were focusing mainly on brute force as what will enable you to be at the top of the ladder, you will find out that because of the biological disposition of the male counterpart, the male has more capacity when it comes to sheer brute force in most respects, in order to do physical work and all of that. And so because of that, it determined who would lead the group. It
I
determined who will be
think.
the leader of
Sorry,
those institutions. And
I think.
it conditioned our culture.
I think
But
when
I
you come
believe
to
that,
multitasking,
okay, continue.
women do more of multitasking job, right? You agree with me to that?
Yes.
So now, if you talk about the biology and all that, I see it as a way of trying to say that there is a genetic way of conditioning the male and the female minds to act in a certain way. But now I agree with you totally when it comes to the cultural viewpoints. When you say culture, because if you come to some societies, you will see that they have like 40% of their women or 50 in the military or everything. So if you check very well, do yourself very well. But I agree with you when you say cultural bonds. That is to say we shouldn't just talk about just education, we talk about sensitization, which is an advanced model of carrying people along. So we should look at sensitizing, creating opportunities. Like Alo did mention about having not up to 10 persons female in the Senate. Are you trying to say that the male the male senators we have in Nigeria, they are more intelligent or more stronger than the
Not at
female
all.
counterpart. So
Not at all.
yes,
That's
so we
what
should
I'm saying.
focus
point
more
I'm
on
making.
sensitization
The point I'm
than
making
talking
is
about the biological composition.
yeah, the point I'm making is that our culture over time,
Right.
because of human disposition, has evolved such that we no longer focus on brute force. We now understand that for you to be successful out there in the society, its focus is mainly on your intelligence. If you're able to have a sufficient intelligence, and now
Then
in
we
this
give them
sense,
the visibility.
we cannot differentiate between the male and the female. We are equal
Yes.
in this.
One point. One point.
And so women cannot be differentiated. So, and in this sense, you can now have better female senators, even than male, who can exercise their intelligence. But the problem is that in most developing countries, because of this conditioning over the years, some women have now gone into this slavish mentality that they cannot really make impact. And so that's where education comes in. You now need to educate them and tell them that you are on the same path and you can actually be even more than the male counterpart if you actually are able to exercise your intelligence sufficiently and very well
Okay.
on the side.
Okay, thank you. But we have Madam Brenda as well as we have Diana, so I think they can explain more in this gender issue, biological issues, and other things. So I want to give them chance. First, Madam Brenda, then Diana. Yes, please unmute yourself. Yeah.
This is where we move forward. Yes, as Oguchukwu has mentioned, in the past, your physical power or formation or genetic, makeup, determine who is the leader and who becomes the first person, so to say, in the community and who makes the rules because of the physical power, because we made a living or our survival was based on people going out there to either fight or to either find food to bring to the household. So because of the way we are as females, we couldn't do that. Men, because of their makeup and their physical strength, they could do that. In the 21st century, we don't necessarily need physical power to be able to do all of those things. As both the gentlemen have said, we need intellectual capacity to be able to bring the bread on the table. So therefore, we need equal society to be able to do that. This can be done by both males and female. And given how women have been able to carry societies in the past up to now, and they will still do that going forward, we have also seen the example of these women doing this, not only in the family or communities, and also in leading positions, being in positions in corporate, in government, and all of that. I am not trying to paint a picture that says one gender is better than other. I am talking about us being equal, being diverse, so that our communities, our countries, the world become progressive going forward. So we mentioned education, we mentioned empowerment. Ogochukwu mentioned the fact that women need to be educated so that they feel they've got something to put on the table, to feel that, they also have value and can stand up to the men that they now have to interact with. I think men should be educated as well, the same way that women are. You spoke about conditioning that has happened over the years. That conditioning didn't only impact men, didn't only impact women in such a way that they felt inferior and continue to feel inferior. Men also seem to think that they can do better than women. Some men still feel today that they can hold this leadership position way better than women can, and they feel that they cannot be seen to do the jobs that were meant for women before, because that will emasculate them. So there is a lot of education that needs to happen for the male species as well. So that empowerment that we're talking about for women, it will be to instill the belief that they are just as equal as men are when it comes to leading communities going forward. For men, it is for them to understand that women are powerful, women can do this, but they also need to support these women to be able to do this. In my many conversations with World Talent Forum, in our discussion, Sharif, when we talk about gender equality, I've always say, being, when we talk about equity, when we talk about equality, it is not to say I am, as strong as a woman is. It is acknowledging the differences that we have between the different genders. Women are made different, men are made different. We've got different qualities. It is when we bring those qualities to the table, and if it is when we bring that diversity, that we become powerful together, and acknowledging that there are things that I can do and there are things that a man cannot do. A man will never be able to carry a child for 9 months and give birth to a child. But it doesn't mean that a man cannot be a parent. They can still be a parent. They can contribute. They do. Without a man, a woman will not be able to carry that child. So we need both to be able to do a whole lot of things. So it is when we start to acknowledge our strengths and our weaknesses and bring that together, that we will move forward and stop saying this one is better than the other. And then, because if we start to think like that, there is no way that we are going to break this silo mentality and these inequalities. And it is not just a gender inequality that we're facing here. The inequalities are across all spheres of societies. So we start with this one because it starts at home, and then we start looking at, the racial inequalities, the other inequalities in other societies. But the education that we're talking about, it needs to be for both men and women, and empowerment needs to be for women, but it needs to be supported by men as well.
Thank you, Madam Brenda. Diana, what do you want to add specifically for this gender issue? When actually Uguchuku and Oshnakachi discussing many points, and Madam Brenda come up with the idea of gender inequality and how we can solve with our education and other things. What the point you want to add for us?
I agree with everything Brenda said, and I like that she touched on the fact that there is a difference between masculine and feminine energy. And I think a lot of the movement right now, especially in the United States, is we have to completely wipe those differences away and be the same. And I agree with Brenda that no, we need those differences and we need to bring them together, and they're both equally important. And I think that it starts with kids. Like, kids don't know anything till we teach them. And if we're empowering women and men at a young age to treat each other with respect and be able to voice their opinions and show them that all of us are adept to be leaders and be teachers and anything we want to be. And I also think that we need to touch on the sexualization of women. I think that's a huge problem with the inequality, is that if you're not a sexual status symbol, then you're not as worthy, or women aren't taken as serious in academia as well with that. And I think that all starts with a young age. We have to recondition ourselves, like he said, to break those habits. It's going to be really hard, but we have to do that every day, do the next best thing, and then teach our children better, because it's easier for the kids to learn. They're going to grow up conditioned the way that we want them to be. And so if we start at a young age, we can have a whole new generation where everyone celebrates their differences.
Thank you, Mr. Nicholas.
I guess I'll do more about addressing some of the comments and questions we had. So I'm sorry about mispronouncing. Nur Fadlin from Malaysia. She asked, "What is gender equality and why is it important in the 21st century?" Well, what's been very devastating in human history is that because women have been always unequal, we have had half the philosophers, half the academics, half the thinkers, half the engineers, half the educators.
Mr. Nicholas, uh, uh, everyone hear Mr. Nicholas clearly? Madam Brenda, Mr.
Not
Nicholas,
clearly.
can you continue, please? Okay. I understand you are from China. You live in China. Maybe there is an internet or Facebook Live restriction. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I think Uguchuku, can you please add some point? I think yeah.
Okay, I can say one or two things. I've listened to both sides of the argument, which I partly raised with regard to women. I try to point out some specific statistics of the limitations women face in the workplace. And Augustus came with the question of biology. And thanks to Brenda and our co-panelists, they've quite addressed the issue. But there are certain issues that go beyond biology. Even though you can't try to restrict the phenomenon of biology from it, the biological phenomenon. What do I mean by this? Sheryl Sandberg, the CEO of Facebook, once narrated her story of how she suffered, when she was pregnant, and of course, pregnancy wasn't easy, even with her high position. The typical morning sickness, if a mom can attest to that, the nausea that goes with the first, second, and the third trimester of the pregnancy, they add the added advantage of weight. You tend to gain more pounds in weight if you are pregnant and all that. So all these things affect the ability of women to perform in the workplace. So she was able to narrate her story of how she came one day to the workplace and the meeting that was scheduled to hold. But going through the fact of preparing, the longer hours she spent in the restroom, the longer hours it took her to trek from where the parking lot to the meeting ground and all that, she went straight to the to Larry Page and Sergey Brin, the founders of Google, and told them we need a parking lot for pregnant women. Why was that possible? That was possible because she was in a position of power. They now accept the fact that we should give women a kind of pregnant women, kind of preferential treatment for them to do their work very well. So biology is part of it, no doubt. But how do we skill the work environment that women are actually enjoying that, are having that biological option and they're actually enjoying it? Because we can't claim that rigid workplace rules doesn't conflict with the many roles women try to play in their family. We know that women are actually most of them are working moms, and when the workplace rule is placed strictly on efficiency and effectiveness, as Augustus has argued, then we tend to obscure the fact that women have done one or two things at home to ensure to keep the family running before coming for work. So there should be an effort to adjust these rules, to make the jobs more female friendly based on the arguments of biology. Because as a result of these rigid workplace rules that places premium on efficiency, we tend to neglect the fact that women feel as if that they are being forced out of the workplace when such is the phenomenon. Because for women to be actually entrepreneurs, we need to make sure that we give them that level ground, not just the very level ground. That's why we have those affirmative actions. That's why we try to make the workplace in a way that we have Equal Pay Act. Because go there to the United States, for every for every 100 cents, women earn about 79 cents or so lesser than their male counterparts. If you look around the worldwide phenomenon, about 4.4 million women and girls are trapped in sex trade. Are we going to obscure this phenomenon? Are we going to obscure this fact? In places like Afghanistan and Sudan, girls receive little or no education. Wives are treated like property by their husbands, and women are being routinely and they are being disgraced by their family for committing a moral crime. Whereas they are the ones at the receiving end of our badly orchestrated society, which has happened over time in a long decade, that women are put in a disadvantaged position. The blunt truth is that men still run the world. There is gender equality. Okay, look at across 195 independent countries of the world, only 17 of them are being led by women. If you look across the parliament in the world, 20%, a meager 20%, are what we can say that women are in the parliament across the whole world. Mind you, if you check the statistics of men to women, it's almost 50-50. I think it's 49-51. So you can't remove almost the better half of humanity and skew it in favor of the other half and expect our world to be on a trajectory towards growth. The 45 CEO companies, only 21 women are executives there. The progress with regard to gender equality is very sluggish. There's no denying that fact. And the way to solve this problem, I actually have two ways I can propose. One is the internal barrier that needs to be put down, and second is the external barrier that needs to be put down. The internal barrier needs focuses on working on the psychology of women. How are women being conditioned to think from childbirth? They are being conditioned to think as if they serve at the mere pleasure of men, especially in third world and developing countries. So we need to change that psychology. That's where education comes in. That's where we need to use the phenomenon of technology to make sure that it is possible that girls receive education delivered and tailor-made for their own progressive growth. Then, if you look at another on the external factor, the external barrier that needs to be pulled down is to get more women in the position of power. That is non-negotiable. For us to fight gender inequality, we need to get more women into the position of power. Because, like you know, power gives you the leverage to make changes, to make laws and legislation that affect millions and thousands of people. And this brings me to the obvious question: how are we going to do that? How are we going to encourage our women to make the leadership arena, the political arena, the economic arena to be favorable to women? How? Is to adjust our work. We can adjust the workplace economically to make it easier for women to work from home. Yes, technology is needed. Yes, but when you consider a pregnant mom, we can design an economic framework. That part of what COVID-19 taught us anyway. You can design an economic framework that a woman doesn't need to stress herself much, plus her family duties to equally go to work. So we can make it in such a way that we consider improvement for all women in leadership roles efficient and effective. That's part of the reason I wrote this book, The Capital Laws of Nigerian Politics. It is actually a means through which both young people, women alike, can cash in these laws to ensure that they enter into parliament, they enter into places where they can make laws, where they can make policies, where they can affect changes that are equally favorable to women, because women understand their fellow female counterparts better. So there's no need of lowering our expectations and obscuring the issue around biology. We need to eliminate the external barriers to get women into the right roles that they should play in the society. We have to wage the battles on both fronts, both on the internal aspect of educating our guests and on the external factor of redesigning our workplace, redesigning our economy, redesigning our politics to ensure that women are the problem of gender inequality is brought down to its barest minimum. So I use the floor to others. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Oshnagati, what do you want to add?
Well, they have spoken well. I like a balanced discussion because I like giving women equal opportunity because they have these. I see them as people with a balanced stamina when it comes to absorbing pressure. You know, they have this sense of determination also. But to add to what my friend Ugo was talking about, I would suggest giving them a favorable means of creating visibility. Now, when you look at how people grow, when you go to the like YouTube channels or Facebook or anything, look at all these influencers. You will see that they are offering nothing so special. And when you look back, you will see that you have people, both male and female, who can do those things better off. But they are not there because they don't have the visibility. We need to help in pushing them out there, pushing them, uh, canvassing for visibility, encouraging them, those things that they do, let the world know. Because the world needs to recognize what you are capable of doing before counting on you. They can't just pick you from nowhere. Like my friends always tell me that it is not the best uh, ideas that wins, but the most visible one. And that brings me to there is a work that I'm developing with Ugochukwu on tourism. If you check Tekidia directory, I wrote something about that in 2019. And it's very important for women also. They need to embrace this philosophy of tourism. They need to learn how to position themselves. They need to learn how to have this sense of confidence, and they need to, if you if you want to do a thing, you don't need to lower your expectation. You need to play big. You need to imagine, dream big, and work towards it. That is the summary of tourism. And you need to position yourself very well. And you say, if I want to be the president, you 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 discuss with executive officers. You reach out to, you go there, you force yourself into that position by doing what is right, because you don't just go there and start doing nothing. You prepare yourself and be there. And this I would like to encourage women to do. And to my fellow men, if you know any lady that is doing something very well, encourage her. Don't see her competition as a threat to your becoming. It won't reduce anything in what you are doing, and that it will also help you to see something that you are not seeing clearly. You need to help them to increase their visibility, for them to be known, so that people can say, oh, I know someone who can do this thing very well. So I always tell my friends, Ugochukwu and Alua, I always tell them that we are ready. You are ready. Don't think that this person cannot do this. But you just need to encourage the person, show the person. All we need is sense of belonging and motivation. It puts them in what they can do very well, position them, and you see them doing something that is so good and cool. So I think increasing the visibility of the female counterparts will also be a contributing factor in stopping inequality in the world.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Madam Brenda.
So Yeah, I agree with what is being said. And I also think that this thing is so deeply rooted in our structures and society that it requires an end-to-end review of our systems, our processes and policies to be able to be dealt with. You cannot just you cannot just touch one part of it and not touch the other, because that will become a blockage. So we have, for example, in South Africa, the Black Empowerment, or what we call the BEE law, or which is the law that intends to look at, marginalized groups, be it women, be it people living with disabilities, be it people that or be it young people that were never included into the economic society, or that never participated in the economy, to say we need to bring those forward and ensure that they can now benefit in the new South Africa. The problem with that is that even though there is law, and if you go to a government institution, or if you are in a company, in a corporate environment, they will look at how you are applying that law. The enforcement becomes a problem if we do not have policies within our organizations, we do not have processes that support the law, because then you don't know if it is, we tick the boxes. It is not intentional. This thing, there needs to be political will, there needs to be intentional application, there needs to be people that are willing to ensure that it happens and check that it has happened. We need to know what success will look like. And success in this case is that once we have implemented this thing, this is how our society will look like. And we need to, on an ongoing basis, go back and check if these things have been implemented, check if there has been progress. Each year, we need to be saying, what is it that we have done towards achieving that goal? Just like you do with your strategic objectives, right? You set your objectives for the year or for whatever, 5 years, and each quarter you re-look at them and saying, what are my KPIs telling me? We need to look at those things as far as inequality is concerned. To what extent are we bringing these people into the economic environment? To what extent are we empowering these ones? To what extent are they becoming successful in the way that we are implementing these processes? Or is there something that we need to change to ensure that we still achieve that objective? And also check with them. Are they benefiting from this? Because it's one thing to come up with a solution for a problem that doesn't exist, or come up with a solution that doesn't benefit the person who's supposed to be benefiting from it. Check with them. Are you being empowered? How are you being empowered? And see how that is affecting the society as a whole, how that is impacting on the progress of a society as a whole. Because you do it in one country, in one community, in one corporate environment, it starts happening in many countries, and before you know it, it's a global phenomenon. It starts to, to happen throughout, and it becomes something that is not just a tick box. It is something that is the norm. Right now, inequality is the norm. And that's what we need to change. And we need to start that in our household, like I keep saying, we need to do that in our community and move up like that and ensure that it happens. I will touch on a very important thing about, making sure that these people are seen. And I think Osina about visibility. Representation matters. when we do not see people that look like us in those positions of leadership, we think it is impossible for us to succeed in those positions of leadership. As Ugochukwu mentioned earlier on, that our mindset is that men are always the leader, women are always in the background. So if you do not see women in those positions, chances are, yes, we would think it is impossible for us to get there. So we need to start appointing people in those positions. But do not just window dress. Put them there and not give them the power. Give them the mandate to be able to make those jobs or make those positions their own, to be able to implement policies that will benefit them, that will benefit people like them, that are looking up to them. So if you have a person who is sitting there and is a person who's living with disability, but yet your policies are not friendly towards people with disability, it is pointless. You're putting a woman there, but yet you are not looking at policies that are friendly towards women in a corporate environment, in a government environment. It is worthless. So it has to be intentional. It has to benefit the people that you are designing these things for. And all of this takes listening to the people that are impacted. All of this takes you putting yourself in the position of a person who has been marginalized and try to understand, if you were in this position, how will you feel? How will it impact you? What would you want? And say, if I am going to change this for me, this is how I would change it. Because think about it. You, as a man, you have a mother. Chances are you have kids and one of them is a girl. How would you feel if they did that to your mother, if they did that to your daughter? So start to personalize these things, start to understand how they affect you personally. Then you will understand how they affect the society at large. So there's still a lot of work that needs to be done, but it takes all of us to be able to make it work.
Mm, mhm. Thank you. I just want to share a few of the facts from UN report. Like globally, 750 million women and girls were married before the age of 18. Even in the COVID-19 situation, actually, it's increased. At least 200 million women and girls in 30 different countries have undergone FGM. Like this is the horrible. The rate of girls between 15 to 19 who are subject to FMG. So this is the horrible situation. Actually, it's around the world. It's not only but developing countries, they are facing a lot of things. 18 countries, husband can legally prevent their wives from working. So this is happening around 39 countries as well. So on a few, one of five women and girls include 19% of women and girls age. So there are many things happening right now in the COVID period, and in the COVID period specifically, women face a lot of challenges in their job placements, in their family, in their society, and it's really horrible that when the underaged women go for marriage because of the COVID-19 situations. I'm sure you can come up with the experience from the Africa and other countries, but I'm sure in developing countries it's happening. It's according to UN report. So this is some of the point just I'm trying to add, and I directly want to go for the concluding remarks. I want to start from Ugu Chuko, then Ushnakachi with us, Ugu Chuko Alo, then finally Madam Brenda.
Okay, thank you very much, Sharif. Uh, Interesting stats there about the stark reality that we have out there. And I'm very happy that we've had so far a very balanced discussion on this issue. Uh, all of us bringing out the different areas that needs to be touched so that we can really understand what is happening, have it on a broader perspective, so that we can know how to really attack it. But my final remark will be to the woman out there, to the girl out there, to the lady out there. You see, most of these issues that we are discussing, most times we tend to be focused on discussing these issues on a higher level out there, up there. And so we focus on the leadership, what the leadership needs to do so that things can work, what policies we need to put in place so that things can work. A policymaker, in most respects, is different from a CEO or an entrepreneur who is out there and wants to make the next quarter, who wants to meet the next quarter, who wants to make the next profit, who wants to have the highest brand out there. And so when you have a very passionate CEO who's not interested in policies or trying to sugarcoat issues. He really wants to go there. He's very competitive and he wants to hit the target next month. If you make policies, you really have to almost put a gun to his head to get him to do that. And in that case, if there are women that are in that kind of organization, they're not going to find it funny. And these things take time. You can make a policy in the country, put in laws, and say we want 50% quota for all women in organizations. And these people will try to frustrate the situation. They'll try to frustrate the law, they'll lobby and do a whole lot of things. These are stark realities we have out there. So we cannot shy away from them. So if we continue to think that the world operates mainly on if you make policies and then everybody follows that line and everybody start following it, does that way. It doesn't work that way. We and I know that. We understand that the world can be very competitive. The human society can be very, very, very competitive. You see the sheer competition in every sector. So what is my advice to the girl child out there? What is my advice to the woman out there? I'm bringing it down on the personal level now. I'll have to tell the girl child, if she is my friend, if she is my sister, I will tell her, see, the world is doing a lot of things to make things work so that women can have a favorable position for you, so that you can have opportunities for women to work equally. But the world is not changing tomorrow. It's not changing anytime. It's not changing that fast. These things take time. We are still suffering from racial injustice. Blacks are being still killed in the United States 60 years ago, since Martin Luther did his speech on the Lincoln Memorial. Blacks are still being killed. The law has been passed, the institution has been put in place, all those things have been put in place. Have we had the full change? No. The answer is no. So these are stark realities that we need to really understand how these things work. So my advice to the girl out there would be, if you are going out to the society there, the society is not interested in whether you are a woman or you're a man or trying to sugarcoat issues. The society is very realistic. It is very harsh and it can really hit you hard. So what do you need to do? Equip yourself. What do you need to do? Educate yourself. What do you need to do? Understand how the world works. Understand how these corporations work. Shirley Sandberg had to understand how these organizations work before she got to the top. If she was sitting in her room and waiting for policies to be made so that she could be given 50 quotas so that she can get to the top ladder of Google, she wouldn't have gotten there. But she had to really take the bull by the horn and train herself and got to that level so that she can now become an inspiration to other women. So my advice to you out there is become an inspiration to other women out there. Try now as much as possible to put in work, understand how the world works, understand that these things is not going to be easy. It's not going to fall from the sky and enter into your laps. You have to work for it. Freedom is not given, it is taken. People don't just give you freedom that way. You take it by force. You have to work your way through. So as much as the society is working on the one hand and trying to put these policies in place, you might not have to wait till the society gets it all right before you can start making a move as a woman. You have to go out there. You have to understand how these things work, and you have to put in all your effort and see how it works. So, and I believe if you do it, get a mentor. get a mentor, get people who can really help you understand these things and find a way to gain your own salvation. And I believe if you do it, you will find you find yourself in a favorable position, and then you will become an inspiration to other women. And then you, with more force, we want women at the top. These changes we cannot get to make them work faster, so that we don't become complacent about all this issues. So thanks so much. It's great having you on this, having me on this show, and I look forward to being here once more. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Oshnagachi.
Okay, a quick one. I won't take your time. I think one thing that women need to understand is that they are capable of whatever they imagine. It's all about making honest effort. People need to meet you at a point of convergence. So keeping on and do not look at the system. Your honest efforts will speak for itself. Increase your visibility and make friends with people who understands your value. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Uguchuku Alo.
Okay. First of all, I believe
Yes.
vocally that increasing or eliminating the external barriers that stop women from accessing leadership position, from accessing economic position, from acquiring business power is a work that we must continue unabated. Increasing the number of women in position of power is a necessary element for gender equality. And I know that not all women, or maybe some of the women listening to us out there, have one definition of success or happiness. Not all women want to be career ladies. Not all women want to have children, or not as to bear children. Not all women want to be corporate ladies or to work. Some of them want to work in NGOs or to find meaning in their lives with a small family and all that. And not all women want to. But I know that we should all advocate for a situation whereby women have more economic power, more political power, more business power, so that the quest for gender equality will continue a progressive march without being limited by anything. And with that said, I will turn individually to women on their own particular level. I know that the society, maybe if you live in a third world country like I do, have conditioned you to be limited in your way of thinking. But never you find a reason to fight for those excuses that society have given you to not progress. As one of my mentors, Ugochukwu Mog, will say, that rich people find reasons to do something, while poor people find excuses not to do something. Successful people don't make excuses. No matter the limitations, the barrier there, it is still incumbent on individual women to make their own personal progress. They have to gain confidence. They have to gain courage to push forward for what is theirs. They have to make sure that they drop all kind of limiting thinking that has gone ahead to restrict how they see the world and how they actually progress. So I advocate for the whole man listening to us today that those negative messages that you have internalized while growing up, those that it is wrong to be outspoken, to be aggressive, to be powerful, to lower your expectation, all those wrong internalized messages should be abrogated and eliminated from you. You might as well try to put in your to-do list running for political office. You must make sure you increase the volume of your confidence. Many women have fought for you to gain some of the freedom that you gain today. So what is going to be your own contribution to other women in future? So we need audacity on the part of women. We need bravery on the part of women. We need it to be coupled with intelligence and a powerful imagination that see a future where gender equality is no longer in existence. It is possible. There is nothing that's not possible. Impossibility is just a fiction. So as an individual woman, we need you to believe that you can be the president or prime minister of your country. It is possible and you can do it. For the truth remains unchanged. Countries are more successful when their women succeed. You know, if one of the UN criteria for measuring the success of any country is actually how many women are successful in that country. When women ascend leadership positions, when you as a woman push for to ascend leadership position, your families are healthier because you make laws governing health. The communities are wealthier because you make law that helps women access entrepreneurship position. And based on this fact, I want to thank Mohammed Yunus, who created the Grameen Bank, which gives microcredit loans to millions of women across the world. So we say a very big thank you to Mohammed Yunus for that. So, but my point is this: as a particular woman, you have to ask yourself some pertinent questions. You must ask yourself, what is important for me as a person? What are the opportunities that my fears, that the negative elements that I've been limiting me from? How can I betray some of these my fears instead of being betrayed by them? What does my society require from me as a woman to make it improve? What is it that I need to fix? How can I abrogate sexism? There are going to be setbacks, of course, but with improved work, with gain more intelligence, increasing your human capital, trying to push no matter the limitation, having the confidence in your ability and the capacity you have been endowed for creation. And looking at mentors and role models like Eleanor Roosevelt, like Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, like Hillary Clinton, like the incoming vice president of America, Kamala Harris, like the former minister of the former prime minister of Britain, Theresa May. So all these people are very providing for you the platform. Go understanding them, uncover their principles, and apply them in your own life as an individual woman. And I tell you, sooner or later, you are going to get there. And if you are a woman in a third world country who really wants to make an impact in the arena, I would strongly advise you to look at this book, The Capital Laws of Nigerian Politics. It's actually crafted for youth, women and men alike, to take power in their countries and effect policies that is going to reflect the needs of the youth, women and men alike. So this book will furnish you the information that you need to bring out the dreams in your heart and make it a reality. So it will help you eliminate those psychological trappings that says that you can't, and those misconceptions of power that have limited women. So I urge every woman to be an aspiring leader, to be a developing leader, no matter the field they are. They should aspire to do projects and programs that can actually astonish the world. Because as one of our member in Transdisciplinary Agora for Future Education, we say, women we can. So we give credit to Malak Toleb. She has the concept of women we can. So as a girl, as a woman, you can do all things. You can make exploits. You can actually bring back and tear down the barriers of gender inequality as we continue this precious pilgrimage to a land where inequality is a bygone phenomenon in our lives. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Mr. Nicholas. Okay. Thank you. I directly want to go for the concluding remarks today, Madam Brenda. Before that, I just want to add that World Talent Economy Forum, Asia Research and Development Institute, and Al Noor Academy, we are working together, and we are observing that you people doing extraordinary work in Africa, even in China and other countries. So more of your collaboration is very much important for World Talent Economy Forums. We want to move together, we want to work together, we want to solve different problem together. This is our objective. Even I want to invite all of you in our different board of advisors and the scientific committee as well. So by this way you can guide us and we can work together. And I request to that we have our very valuable content in our YouTube channel and in our website, so you can share with your audience and with your peoples. It's completely free, and we want your voice, and we will share all of your contribution. Around 100 million people already we are communicating with 100 of different universities, school, college, universities, and governments and the corporations. And your support will be very much important for World Talent Economy Forums. And definitely, in any point, World Talent Economy Forum can help this African community and the Chinese communities. Definitely, we're gonna work together and we will contribute. Thank you for today's session. Now, I directly want to go for the concluding remarks from Madam Brenda.
Thank you, Sharif. I think in conclusion from me is just for all to acknowledge that inequality is not just gender-based. There's inequality in race, there's inequality in economy, there's inequality in so many aspects. So when we're talking inequality and reducing that, we need to look at it end to end. Because if you solve one area, there's a possibility that going forward you'll be blocked by another area. So depending on where you are sitting, look at your own surroundings and see what is it, even if it's a small thing that you can do to ensure that you minimize inequality within your society. At TEFs, the Transdisciplinary Agora for Future Discussion is something that we really, really are passionate about. Diversity is one of our key drivers, and making sure that there is equality as far as gender is concerned, there is equality as far as race is concerned, and there is empowerment, and we bring all of these diverse cultures, diverse ideas from all walks of life together to ensure that we have a better future than what we have right now. So we encourage also all of you, together with our fellow men, to invest in education for women, for men, for people that were previously marginalized, to ensure that all of those ideas can pave a better future for all of us. And I would like to thank World Talent Forum specifically for all the support that you continue to give us. And I hope that you will continue to do that in the future as well, and that we can partner together in ensuring that we can reduce, even if it's just 1% of the inequality that we see across the world. So thank you so much for the session.
Thank you for the today's contribution. This is actually really good discussion. I think Mr. Nicholas, I understand you are in China. For that issues you cannot contribute a lot, but I can understand that you have a very positive attitude. And specifically, I want to give special thanks to all of our speakers today. They are contributing a lot. Even in future, hopefully we will work together and we will arrange this kind of policy level discussions. And I want to give special thanks to our audience, those who come up with very interesting idea, very interesting information and support. So thank you everyone. Thank you everyone for joining today.